is why you tuned in, folks. Who are you taking, Duke or Siena?
That is a Thursday game, I believe. They haven't released the times yet. That's one of my favorite parts. I love when the bracket comes out, but I love seeing when the times come out for each game. It's just awesome.
That's just one little adrenaline.
Yeah,
I know what you're saying.
My screen is currently being shared to you guys, so you guys are seeing my bracket officially on the screen. Duke Siena, the first pick of our brackets.
The hurry, man.
I'm going right to Duke.
Going right to Duke. You know what? I'm going to do the same thing. I will say, Siena, it's a cool story. They were 3 seed, and I think it was the Metro Athletic Conference.
The MAAC, not the MAC, the MAAC.
No, not to be confused with 2-bid MAC. That's a pretty high quality.
We're talking about
names there. Siena, I really wanted Merrimack to be in the tournament. I'm not gonna lie. They were the team that Siena beat in the first round, so I have a little bit of spite. So I'm picking Duke by 50 out of spite, pure spite pick.
Fair enough.
Yeah, give me Duke.
So we're gonna go on to the 8-9 game, Ohio State versus TCU. Right off the bat, this is gonna be awesome. My hurry says take Bruce Thornton. Take the guard that you believe in. Take Bruce Thornton in that game. I'm going Ohio State.
Dude, I'm telling you, this is the best game of the first round. I cannot wait for this game. You know how they always make an 8-9 game the first game?
It's going to be the first game of the day, 100%.
I hope to God that this is the first game of the day because this game is going to be awesome.
It is on Thursday.
It's going to be
so it should be 100% the first game of the tournament we could get between TCU and Ohio State. It could be St. Louis, Georgia.
They would give us Ohio State TCU, man.
Shout out whatever sports betting site you follow. They already have the lines out on the games if you're curious. And the Ohio State Buckeyes are favored by 3.5.
Well, I mean, shout out ESPN Sportsbooks. I will say TCU is one of the hardest teams to predict in all of college basketball because they are so sporadic. They have beaten Florida, a 1 seed. They took Michigan, a 1 seed, to overtime, and they also lost at home to New Orleans. That all happened in the same year. They are so up and down, crazy all over the place. I don't even know what to think. It's going to be so impossible to pick TCU. They could lose this game by 30. They could also beat Duke in the second round. But I agree. I'm going with Bruce Thornton. I'm going with Ohio State. So we're 2 for 2 in terms of similarity right now.
Okay. This is fascinating by the selection committee. Last year we had St. John's 2 seed, win the Big East, R.J. Lewis Player of the Year, and Kansas and Arkansas didn't have a great year. They ended up falling to the 7-10 matchup. John Calipari versus Bill Self in the first round. And we thought maybe we could get Bill Self versus Rick Pitino. Maybe we could John Calipari versus Rick Pitino. And we got John Calipari versus Rick Pitino. Now, here in the East region, we have a 4-5 potential matchup between Rick Pitino and Bill Self. They just couldn't get enough of it. They had to go back to the well. And now we've got St. John's, Northern Iowa, Kansas versus Cal Baptist here in the section. These games will be played, I believe, on, let's see here. These games will be played on Friday between St. John's and Northern Iowa, and then between Kansas and Cal Baptist. Some very fun Friday games right there. Right off the heart, I'm going Rick Pitino. I'm not overthinking it. I know Northern Iowa is a great team. They come from the MVC, and they were one of the first teams to punch their ticket to March last Sunday, a week ago. It's been a little while since they've played, but I'm sticking with St. John's. I'm sticking with Rick Pitino.
You know what, Nazario? I love St. John's, man. I do. I love the Garden. I love Rick Pitino. I hope he wears his white suits. Those get me geeked up. I love this team. Dylan Mitchell is awesome. Dylan Darling is one of my phone wallpapers. I love this team. St. John's is amazing. Northern Iowa I cannot get them out of my head, man. I cannot get Northern Iowa out of my head. They are fantastic. You know what they do? They rebound at a super high rate, and they are dead last in the country per Bart Torvik in pace. Like adjusted possessions per 60 minutes, they are dead last. They play at the slowest pace that anyone plays at in all of college basketball. And what does St. John's like to do? They like to play fast. They like to force turnovers. They like to get out in transition. And Northern Iowa's just not going to let them do that because they're going to play slow. They're not going to turn it over. They're going to get their best shot every possession. And they were really injured early in the season. They're back healthy. That's why they were such a low seed in the Missouri Valley. I think they're playing their best basketball right now. I think they're going to slow it down. I think St. John's was on an emotional high after winning the Big East. I'm picking Northern Iowa to win this game. And this is all hurry. I'll probably find some statistic in the next week that makes me pick St. John's. But give me Northern Iowa. I think this is one of the biggest sleeper teams in the entire country in terms of mid-majors. I think they're awesome. I'm riding to Northern Iowa. I'm doing
first upset picked between the two of us. And one thing I'll say, to add to your point, this game, you're talking about the Garden, this game is being played in California. San Diego, California. Dude. This might be one of the most sterile crowds in the country happening this week. So what does that mean? This means that One, we've got Kansas Cal Baptist coming up. I don't know whether that game is before or after the St. John's game, but that game will be played at the same spot. A lot of Cal Baptist fans will be
Cal
there.
Baptist is gonna pack that place out.
And you
man.
know what happens is fans just rally around whatever team the group just decides to. And if Northern Iowa makes this a close game, there is a massive chance those crowds just rally around Northern Iowa. And that puts St. John's in a very tough spot. But I think one thing for this game is you talked about the slow pace. Those turnovers are going to feel monumental because when St. John's gets a turnover, they're getting out and they're getting a bucket. When those happen in that game, they are going to feel just like complete momentum shifts. I'm going to stick with St. John's because of Rick Pitino, but Northern Iowa, they could make that a fascinating game on Friday.
Yes, and I will say an important thing for Northern Iowa in this game, they have to get out to an early lead. If they're losing at the beginning, this is not a team that is predicated off of elite shot making, that's predicated off of going on runs. Like if they go down, if St. John's goes out and goes up 20-10, just ball game. I hate to say it, but it's ball game. So Northern Iowa, they have to take a lead. They have to shut down Zuby early, and if they can do that, I love taking Northern Iowa in this game. So I'm doing that.
Next up, we got Kansas, number 4 seed in the East region, playing Cal Baptist, the last team on Saturday night, not even Saturday night, on Sunday, early Sunday morning, to punch their ticket to the tournament in the WAC. They took out the number 1 seeded Utah Valley 63-61 to punch their ticket to the tournament. Kansas, Cal Baptist coming up from San Diego, California. The crowd will be on Cal Baptist's side, but I believe that Darren Peterson is just too good. I'm going to take Bill Self. I'm not doing anything crazy out here. I'm making it simple. We're taking Darren Peterson, and we're taking Kansas Jayhawks here in the 4-13 matchup.
You know what, Nazario? Maybe it's just because I love mid-major basketball so much. I watch way too much mid-major basketball. I want to pick Cal Baptist so bad. And, like, the fact that this game is in California, it feels like heavenly wisdom. It feels like it's God's will for me to pick Cal Baptist in this game. It really does. This team they rebound really, really well, and they push you off the three-point line. Honestly, I would love to pick Cal Baptist. They're really hot right now. They're at home. I really like the way their team plays. This is just a bad matchup for them. I 100% think this is just not great. Darren Peterson is going to be healthy. He's going to be playing. Kansas, they are so well-rounded. They defend so well. I don't think Cal Baptist is going to be able to score consistently. I am picking Kansas, but I'm being smart. This is me showing you that I have self-control. Like, I would love to pick Cal Baptist. In my heart, I might have Cal Baptist going to the Elite Eight, but I'm picking Kansas to win this game.
An incredible stat here that I'm just don't know what the selection committee was thinking. Cal Baptist is 15 minutes, 8 miles away from the arena this game is going to be played.
Oh,
This is a road game for Kansas in the first round.
I would have
Bill
picked
Self has
so
got to be
bad.
losing his mind. That's crazy. Wow, 8 miles away from their first round opponent. That is crazy. And then once we get to the second round, St. John's, Kansas, and San Diego, what in the world? I don't know what that crowd is going to look like. But Cal Baptist, those fans are going to pack that place out. That's going to be an exceptional atmosphere on Friday. I am pumped for that. But those are our picks for the top half of the East region. Let's move to the bottom half. We've got Louisville, South Florida, Michigan State, North Dakota in the same quad. Louisville versus South Florida, the AAC champions in South Florida, the Bulls, the top team in the conference. They won the regular season and the conference tournament, but I'm sticking with the Cardinals from Louisville. Now, Michael Brown is going to have to be back for this game and for the tournament for Louisville to have any sign of life, but I'm still taking Louisville over the South Florida Bulls of the AAC.
I'm going to want to pick every single upset, man. South Florida is so good. Like, they're actually so good. They're so athletic. They're big. They have so much length defensively. They're top 60 in Torvik, I think, in offensive and defensive efficiency. Like, they're very, very consistent. That's what they're known for, is their consistency. And what is Louisville known for?
Inconsistency.
Inconsistency. So, honestly, and they also play really fast. Like, South Florida is, like, top 20 in tempo. So, South Florida is going to be pushing the court all the time.
Tempo. Okay.
15 to 10. Oh, my gosh.
This game's going to be off the roof. Louisville currently sitting at 62nd in tempo. Not the highest number in the world, but they want to get out too.
And what's their defensive number?
defensive rating for Louisville, sitting at 25th?
Oh, that's not bad. That's a lot better than I thought it was going to be. I think this game's going to be really high scoring. I think it's going to be crazy. But in a crazy game, I'm siding with the guards and the shot making of Ryan Conwell and Michael Brown. And if you watch the ACC Championship, if you watch the Louisville SMU game, Ryan Conwell just single-handedly won that game for Louisville. It was awesome. And then also Michael Brown can go off. He can 100% go off. And you can't out Louisville. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So South Florida's gonna have to find another way to win. And I think the thing to watch out for in this game, Louisville's front court is not very great. They're not a great rebounding team. South Florida, I think, is 6th in Torvik in offensive rebounding. I think that was the stat I saw. Tell me if I'm right.
South Florida offensive rebound. They are 6th in offense.
6th in the country in offense. They're gonna be crashing the boards like crazy off all their misses. So that's how they're gonna win. If South Florida wins, it's by offensive rebounding the heck out of the ball, getting extra possessions, and winning that way. But I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be high scoring. And in a close, high scoring battle, I have to take Louisville because that's just their bread and butter.
This game will be played in Buffalo, New York. 6.5-point favorites are the Cardinals of Louisville in that first round game. The next game in that quad, Michigan State facing the Summit League champions, North Dakota State, the 1 seed from the Summit League. 2 1 seeds from the mid-majors coming out in this quad. Going to make it very interesting. I'm going to stick with the strong front court and great play from guard Jeremy Fears. I'm going with Michigan State and Tom Izzo, which would create a wonderful second round of head coaches out here in the East region. Sticking with Michigan State, going all chalk right now, Rob.
Yeah, I don't mind that. It's smart. So it makes sense. It's not fun, but it's smart. I'm going to pick Michigan State. I'm not going to make this one complicated. I think North Dakota State's really cool. They have that one white dude that pulls up in transition all the time. I really like him. But North Dakota State is a great rebounding team. You're not going to out-rebound Michigan State. Like, they like to bully people. You can't bully the bully. That's not how it works. So I'm taking Michigan State, which would set up Michigan State Louisville in the second round. Cannot wait for that one. The contrast in play styles there would be spectacular. But we'll get there when we get there. Let's move on to UCLA, UCF.
Yeah, that final quad here in the East region, the first round games, those are going to be coming your way on Friday from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So I just love seeing where they throw teams in the first round. It's always interesting to see. So we'll have UCLA, UCF from Pennsylvania. I'm not sure there's going to be a lot of fans of either of those teams at that game. But once again, I'm going with the guard. I'm going Donovan Dent. He's been playing really good basketball recently. We saw a little bit of life from UCLA in the Big Ten tournament, won a couple nice games before falling out, I believe, to Purdue in that tournament. So I'm liking UCLA, sticking with Donovan Dent. I like my guards. Rob.
And there's something wrong with liking guards, especially this time of year because guards do win in March. I'm going to start by talking about UCF. I really like UCF. I think that they've been really impressive this year. No one thought they were going to make the tournament. They were one of the bottom teams in the Big 12 preseason. And Riley Kugel and Themis Folks, I think, are both really fun. And they have this one dude in their front court. I can never remember his name. He's big. He's a great defender. So I really like the way this UCF team is built. They're not matching up with UCLA. So I got my respect out for UCF. That's my respect for the Trojans. Or not the Trojans. The Golden Knights. I think they're Golden Knights. I got my respect out for them. They're not beating UCLA. UCLA's on fire. Donovan Dent is amazing. I think he's a little banged up. I remember hearing a stat late in the year of Donovan Dent. Like there was a 4-game stretch that he went on when he had 54 assists and 2 turnovers in like 6 games. Something like that. It was a crazy stat. I don't remember exactly what it was. He has been on fire. He is injured. Like he's a little banged up, which is a bit of an issue. We're gonna have to monitor that throughout the upcoming days. But UCLA is much better. I would be shocked if UCF wins this game. I think there are a lot of fun 7-10 matchups in this tournament. This is not one of them. So I feel like we don't need to spend a lot of time on it. I'm taking the Bruins.
I agree with that. I don't think UCF has been playing well recently either. Kind of on a downward slide. They weren't close enough to get really on the bubble. We knew they were going to be in the tournament, but haven't been liking the way they've been playing. Now, our final game of the first round for the East region, UConn versus Furman. Furman had a nice run in their conference tournament to get there, win that game. I know Rob was talking a lot about their shot making while that tournament was going on. But I'm sticking with UConn. Dan Hurley's going to use the motivation that they didn't get the 1 seed and their loss in the conference championship game to St. John's as motivation. I think UConn will come out and look pretty well against Furman here in Pennsylvania. That's a good spot there for UConn in Pennsylvania. Yeah. Those fans will get down from Connecticut. I 100% believe it unless there's a snowstorm stopping them.
I think UConn's great. I think they're fun. I think they have a lot of style to their game. I will say, I think they're going to win this game. It better not be close. Because if this game is close, like any level of closeness whatsoever to it, Furman is healthy now. Furman shot making, like you said, it is awesome. Like I was watching their game against, I think it was UNC Greensboro. Furman, when it is late in the game and it's close, Furman is elite at making big-time clutch shots, and UConn is not whatsoever elite at doing that. So I think UConn's going to blow them out, but there's 2 possibilities for this game. A blowout from UConn or a Furman Paladins win. Those are the only 2 possibilities. Frankly, I think the first one is very likely. I think UConn just matches up really well and is going to blow them out. But I'm just saying, it's close. Watch out, because Furman can make those shots.
So we're going to move on to the second round of the East region bracket. And wow, we're going to have a game between Duke and Ohio State in the second round. And this is going to be one of the more interesting picked upsets. Duke versus Ohio State. Now this is a money-grabbing game, 100%. Two massive fan bases. I'm interested to see what the crowd looks like there in South Carolina. Duke, Ohio State. Man, this is a tough one. I just don't see Ohio State quite being able to keep up with Cam Boozer. I think this could be a great battle, but I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna just stick with the guns, going Duke. But I think it could be interesting. I just don't think that Ohio State's gonna be able to keep it close enough to give Bruce Thornton a shot late in that game.
Oh man, Ohio State has been so good recently. Like they have been absolutely on fire. They nearly beat Michigan. What else did they do? They beat UCLA. They beat Michigan State. They crushed Michigan State. I love Ohio State in the bracket.
And those two teams right there, Michigan State, Michigan, that they beat, or well, they're close to Michigan, beat Michigan State. Really solid front courts.
Very similar.
Ohio State matched up with them, so that's an interesting point for sure.
I agree with that. I like that perspective. The one thing, like I would love to pick Ohio State in this game. Their shot making is fantastic. I'm looking at it right now. They are 17th in offensive efficiency 13th in offensive efficiency per Torvik and 17th in effective field goal percentage. They shoot really, really well. The only thing is, I look at Bruce Thornton, I say he's an absolute amazing clutch shot maker. He always has been, he always will be. But Duke's got a guy on their team named Dame Sarr. Just put Dame Sarr on.
I think Bruce Dame Sarr might be your favorite player.
Like, Dame Sarr is so good. All the talk on Duke is Caden Boozer and Cam Boozer. Not even really Cam Boozer. Cam Boozer, Caden Boozer, Isaiah Evans, and Malik Brown winning ACC Defensive Player of the Year, which I think is ridiculous. Dame Sarr is the best on-ball defender in the country, in my opinion. So, as good as Bruce Thornton is at creating shots, Dame Sarr is better at eliminating them. So, I would love to pick Ohio State, but I'm not picking Ohio State. I think TCU has a better chance of beating Duke than Ohio State does, but I don't think TCU is going to beat Ohio State. So, I'm taking Duke.
Fair enough. I'm trying to look to see if the times have been released for the games. Not quite sure on that one yet. We're still looking, so we can let you know exactly when these games are going to tip off. But this game between Duke and Ohio State, if it happens, will be on Saturday. St. John's versus Kansas. We said that one was going to be in San Diego, California. That's going to be a weird crowd. I just can't get beyond that. But St. John's and Kansas, wow, what a battle if we get this. Rick Pitino, Bill Self, Darren Peterson versus Rick Pitino, really. Like, what can he do? This is the toughest matchup. I'm a big Rick Pitino guy. I also like my guy, Darren Peterson. This is a tough one, but this is where I take Rick Pitino because he can find a way to shut down Darren Peterson. Shut down is a very strong word.
Shut down is strong.
Find a way to make it as difficult as possible on Darren Peterson, where he's either inefficient or he's turning the ball over. I think that's where St. John's wins the game.
All right, you know what I'm going to do on here? I'm going to remove your screen, and I'm going to put mine, because my bracket's different now. So I'm removing your screen. I'm adding mine. I'm going there. Can you see it on there? Just a little quick check. Yeah, we can see it. All right, so in my bracket, I had St. John's losing in the first round, so I got Northern Iowa against Kansas. Again, Kansas is fantastic. You know what I called Darren Peterson at the beginning of the season in preseason? I called him an American hero. That's what I called Darren Peterson, because this Kansas team in preseason looked not very good. Like, they did not bring the right pieces along to the puzzle that you need to build around Darren Peterson. It literally was just him that was saving this Kansas team. And so I called him an American hero. I said he was going to be great. He was going to make a run in March. That's what I said. And then he went down. And he missed all the players' era. And he's missed games. And he's been in and out of lineups. And I know it's been frustrating. I will say he is insanely good and probably the most talented player in this draft class. But I think the important part of the story of this season for Kansas was how the rest of this team has been built up around him, how much they've improved in his absence. Melvin Council at times can channel the spirit of Michael Jordan and just go crazy in the fourth quarter, or not the fourth quarter, the second half of games. Trey White is awesome. He's one of the best 3-and-D players in the country. Flory Badunga is hilarious in press conferences and is an awesome front court piece. Bryson Tiller is one of the more under-talked about freshmen in the country. He is a baller down low, too. The rest of this Kansas team is phenomenal. I really think Kansas has grown into a true March contender that can make a run. But they're going up against Northern Iowa. And Northern Iowa is 365th in the country in pace. I'm picking Northern Iowa.
Wow.
I mean, this is my hurry bracket. I am all in on Northern Iowa right now. I watched them win the NBC when I thought Belmont was going to win the NBC, and then I thought Drake was going to win the NBC. Northern Iowa did it at 6 seed. I just love this team so much. The more I look at their resume, the more I look at how they can hang with any front court in the country and how they can straight games and make them close. And if Darren Peterson's off, give me Northern Iowa, man. Give me. I don't even know what their mascot is. I should know that. I don't know what it is. I think they're the Panthers.
That sounds right.
But give me the Panthers if they are the Panthers. If they're not, just give me Northern Iowa to face Duke against the Elite Eight. How epic would that be? People are all talking about Cinderella's over, or Cinderella's over, Cinderella this, Cinderella that. Northern Iowa's my Cinderella for this region of the bracket.
Awesome. Well, we have a different top side of the bracket, but on the bottom half, Rob and I have the same matchups here in the second round: Louisville, Michigan State, and UCLA, UConn. Louisville, Michigan State. If those two teams win in the first round, will be a game taking place on Saturday. That game will be played in Buffalo, New York. So could be interesting crowds there as well. I don't know why I'm so keen on the crowds, but I think it's a big deal here in the tournament. Louisville, Michigan State from Buffalo, New York. Right away when I see this game, I think Jeremy Fears versus Michael Brown and Ryan Conwell. But then I think about the strong front court of Michigan State. I'm not sure how Louisville can match up with that, but I'm going with the Cardinals. I'm going with Michael Brown and Ryan Conwell to find a way. I think, interestingly enough, Jeremy Fears is going to have more pressure on him than it seems. I think that Michael Brown and Ryan Conwell will have a lot of success, but can they keep Michigan State off the offensive glass? That's the key to this basketball game. And I like my guy number 53 from Louisville. We never found out his name. But
I
I
don't think we ever should find out his name.
We're not going to find out his name. That's more of a great point. And I think that Louisville can keep him on track a little bit, just enough to help Ryan Conwell and Michael Brown find a way. I'm taking Louisville to advance in this quad.
And you know what? I love that pick from you. I love that you have that opinion. Michigan State's going to win this game. I'm sorry.
Simple as that, guys.
I'm sorry. I would love Louisville too. I think they're more fun than Michigan State. Michigan State's front court is just too good. I cannot see Louisville even like grabbing a single. They might not get a single rebound. We might end the game and Michigan State might have 60 rebounds and Louisville might have 0. That might happen. And then I think Louisville's guards are great. They are. That's why I picked them to beat a South Florida team that I adore. But at the same time, Michigan State's defense is fantastic. They're going to blitz ball screens. They're going to make Michael Brown uncomfortable. I think Michigan State is going to win this game. And it's funny that I talked ad nauseum about Northern Iowa and Kansas, and I just don't really think this game's going to be close at all. But again, this is my hurry bracket. So I'm picking Michigan State. I'm doing it. Give me the Spartans.
Robert, I have a question.
What's that?
Can we retract picks?
We can retract picks.
I'm retracting my pick, folks. I'm going Michigan State.
All it took was for me to go, Michigan State's winning this game.
And without knowing the Sweet 16 matchup, I'm picking Michigan State to the Elite Eight. I told myself about 2 weeks ago, I saw Michigan State play. I said, I'm going with them. I'm set. And I got to stay with it, folks. I know that doesn't make any sense, but I'm going with it. I'm going Michigan State.
Hey, we're not perfect. No one's perfect around here. It's okay. We can make mistakes.
And now I'm going back, and I want to go pick Louisville again. This is terrible. This is terrible, folks. This is awful. This is what happens for the next 4 days of your life. This is why it's the hurry bracket, and I'm going back to Louisville.
He's just went
the hurry bracket,
roller
folks.
coaster, man.
We're going Louisville. Moving on to the last second round matchup here in the East region. We've got UCLA, UConn, and man.
Dude, you know what? You know what I want to do on this game? I don't even want to watch the players. I want to camera on Dan Hurley and I want to camera on Mick Cronin. That's what I want to see coaches.
The coaching matchups in this region are incredible. We've
great,
got
man.
Diebler. Don't get Diebler. John Shire versus Jake Diebler. Rick Pitino versus Bill Self. Pat Kelsey versus Tom Izzo. Mick Cronin versus Dan Hurley.
Oh my gosh.
This is incredible.
This is amazing.
I want to take UCLA so bad in this matchup. So bad. I feel like Donovan Dent late in this game could figure it out. Man, the bracket is screaming at me to do it, but I'm picking UConn. I cannot have Louisville or UCLA going to the Elite Eight. I just can't do it in my hurry bracket. I want to so bad, folks, but I'm sticking with UConn, and we're going to have a UConn in the Sweet 16 in my bracket. Up to you, Rob.
Man,
It is tough.
The East region is so awesome.
The East region is
like, I don't even care about the other region at this point. Give me the East region and then give me Wisconsin and Arkansas. And that's all I want to watch. Like, this is going to be unreal. I'm so glad we're doing this region first because it's so spectacular. I'm picking UCLA in this game.
Love it.
I have been out on UConn for so long. I don't know if y'all are watching this podcast and it's this podcast for the first time and you don't know this. I said, what was it? Way back in like December.
A minute ago.
UConn is the most overrated team in the country. They turn the ball over all the time. Silas Demery does not care about the ball at all. And they're inefficient on offense. Like, their defense is much better than their offense this year. No one really knows that. People just look at UConn and say, oh, Dan Hurley. I like watching solo balls shooting for him. Give me him to the Elite Eight. UCLA is on fire. And if Donovan Dent is healthy, I agree. I think I trust Donovan Dent shot making late in games more than I trust any of the UConn players. I'll tell you that much. So I know Terrace Reed's going to be a problem. But, hey, listen, if you mess up on Terrace Reed, Mick Cronin's just going to throw you out of the game. It's that simple. He's done that like twice this year. So I'm picking UCLA to win this game, which harkens back to one of your takes about the Big Ten. The Big Ten is I've got two Big Ten teams in the Elite Eight in the East sector. So
I think one of the toughest parts about this and why I almost went back to Michigan State is because of UConn. I think if Michigan State gets matched up with UConn here in the Sweet 16, I like Michigan State a lot in that game. I really do. I think their defense could make it very difficult. And I don't think, like, why I picked Louisville to beat Michigan State is because of Michael Brown and Ryan Conwell. And then I look at UConn. There's no one like that I can pick on UConn to say they can outperform Michigan State's defense. Who are you going to say? Solo Ball, yeah, he has a beautiful shooting form. He's not a great player. And I'm really going to put my trust in Silas Demery to win a Sweet 16 game. That's tough. However, since I have UConn and Louisville playing the Sweet 16, I cannot pick Louisville win the Elite Eight. That having it as 6 seed go all the way to the Elite Eight, it doesn't matter how much my heart wants to do this. This is the hurry bracket. It's got to be UConn. Going on to the Elite Eight, what do you think about your Sweet 16 matchup, which is Michigan State UCLA, a fascinating Big Ten battle in the Sweet 16 for Rob?
And you know, that's what's so amazing about this is that we have completely different Sweet 16 matchups in this region. That just makes me excited. Like the fact that anything can happen in this region. This is Tom Izzo versus Mick Cronin. Again, don't give me the game. Just give me the coaches. I just want to watch the coaches react. Like watching Mick Cronin on the sideline is so entertaining. It's amazing. I would love to pick UCLA in this game. Michigan State, I think, is one of the more under-talked about teams in the country. I am taking Michigan State to win this game. They have so much consistency. Like, what you want for consistency in college basketball is a great point guard and a great front court. This is exactly that. They have a fantastic point guard in Jeremy Fears, despite all the antics. He is fantastic, and their front court is insane. So that is why they can beat anybody, and that's why I think they're going to the Elite Eight to face off against the winner of, in your opinion, Duke versus St. John's?
Yes. And this is so tough. I am 100% going to pick Michigan State in my head bracket to the Elite Eight. This is the hurry bracket, and that's why I have Louisville going to Sweet 16. And you make me want to take back and go back to Michigan State again, but I'm not going to do it. I'm going to stick with what I got. Okay, so UConn's sitting in my Elite Eight here in the East region, and now we've got Duke St. John's in the Sweet 16 game. Wow. Once again, the coaches, Rick Pitino. You don't need another coach, just Rick Pitino facing John Shire. Man, this is something for John Shire. He has got demons to exercise in this tournament. He has had one of the top teams last year, really should have won the national championship, and past years as well, and he's fallen short in the tournament. Now he's got Rick Pitino. I'm not going to talk about it, but the pucker meter. The pucker meter is going to be there.
Pucker meter.
The pucker meter for the Blue Devils. But I still like Duke. Zuby Ejiofor versus Cameron Boozer will be an awesome matchup if that's what we get. But I'm sticking with Duke. I like the Blue Devils. They're really good. John Shire is a fantastic coach. I mean, you think about the programs that have had to change between a phenomenal, legendary coach to somebody else. How that's not gone well for some teams. But man, Duke hit it off. They got John Shire to come in right after Mike Krzyzewski and just go right where they were. And if not, they have gotten better. That's a crazy statement to make. They haven't won a national championship yet, but they've been right there. Duke to the Elite Eight over St. John's for me in the Sweet 16. Rob, you have a fun Sweet 16 matchup, a lot more of a fun hurry matchup, and I'll leave it to you. Let's talk about your Sweet 16 matchup between Duke and Northern Iowa.
Yeah, you know, you could say this is a fun matchup, and it really is, because Northern Iowa at this point, let's imagine that this actually happens. Let's imagine that Northern Iowa beats St. John's, a crazy close game. Rick Pitino's throwing his clipboard on the ground. He's yelling, he's screaming. They lose that one. Then let's imagine that Northern Iowa knocks out Darren Peterson, Bill Self in Kansas. And then we get a whole week where we can just sit there and talk about Northern Iowa. They're going to be the story of the tournament. They're going to be the Cinderella team. And then they go to
one region.
That's true. That's true. It's very, very true. We're only not even a fourth of the way done with this. But Northern Iowa would then get hit by an absolute train in the form of Duke. I don't think this game would be very close. It kind of reminds me of the year that St. Peter's went to the Elite Eight and then had to play North Carolina. And then they got absolutely dumped. I don't think this game would be close. I'm picking Duke. Which I have a little bit to say about Duke and John Shire too. I think that if you just showed me like the resumes of Duke teams with Mike Krzyzewski, and then he got fired, and then they inserted John Shire, and you're just showing me the resume of those teams and the resume of John Shire teams, I don't think you could notice a difference between, like, you couldn't pinpoint the years that are different. Like, John Shire, they has missed a beat. we might be talking in 40 years. We might be talking about John Shire in the same breath as Mike Krzyzewski.
I mean, could you think about talking about Duke having an 80-year run of two coaches, two unbelievable coaches? That is, wow, that would be incredible. It's very possible. Now, folks, the Elite Eight.
The Elite
The
Eight.
Elite Eight in the East region, I don't know where that would be played. And it might not matter. But we've got, for my bracket, Duke and UConn. Wow. John Shire, Dan Hurley. This would be fascinating. And what I like about this matchup is you don't have a guard, really, that you can just trust the ball with. We've talked about Isaiah Evans and his shot making, but I don't know. It's tough when you look at this matchup to say I like a guard to win this basketball game. And that's why I'm taking Cameron Boozer, the future player of the year, whenever that award is announced. We're not quite sure. But
I think it's right before the Final Four.
right before the Final Four. So I will take Duke, John Shire going back to the Final Four once again. They had Cooper Flag last year. They had so many other guys that went to the NBA. But Cam Boozer, I think he finds a way to get the Blue Devils back to the Final Four over UConn. That's the East region, Rob. I'm going to check where that game will be played. But what about your Elite Eight matchup?
You know what's something that I never really enjoyed as a kid?
What's that?
You know, I loved playing outside. I loved playing sports. I was a big kickball guy, big dodgeball guy. I loved playing foam footballs. A lot of kids that I was friends with, they loved to just sit on the ground, sit on the pavement, not go outside, not scrape their knees, and then just play with chalk. I never liked chalk. Chalk is terrible. I really disliked it. At the same time, I'm picking Duke. Listen, I would love nothing more than to pick Northern Iowa to win this game over Duke, and then make it to the Elite Eight and make it to the Final Four. Duke is so good. Like, it's a problem how good Duke is. And every time I tell myself that, I think back onto the heavenly wisdom that you bestowed on me one year. Before the Duke-Arizona game last year, I said, there's no chance Duke loses this game. Look how good their KenPom is. Look how good their numbers are. They're so amazing. And you said, Robert, they're just 18 to 20-year-old kids. They're not Greek gods. It's very true, but it feels this year like Duke is a team of 13 Greek gods. I'm picking Duke to go to the Final Four over Michigan State. These two teams have played before this year. They played very early in the season. It was sort of towards the end of conference play or non-conference play, I think, if I remember correctly. Duke won the game. Yeah, Duke would win this game.
And that was a really close game, by the way. Look up that box score real quick. But if you think about our two Elite Eight matchups, Duke, UConn, Duke, Michigan State. UConn and Michigan State just don't have the offense to win those games. Duke is elite offensively. We were talking about it in their game last night against Virginia. They switch 1 through 5. They're athletic on every facet of the court. It is so hard to get them in a bad matchup, to get them in bad. Their defense is so locked in. It's one of the things I've talked about with Rob about how much John Shire is just a respectable, incredible coach. Is he takes these 5 stars, he takes these incredible athletes and makes them incredible defenders. They are so locked in on defense. It is, I don't know how he does it. Genuinely, folks, to get dudes that talented to lock in on defense for 40 minutes consistently throughout the year is crazy. And so just looking at those two matchups, I don't see how Duke loses one of those games. And if you look at their entire bracket, you're going to have someone elite offensively to make that happen. If you think about Houston, how they beat Duke last year, they had some incredible shot making. If you look at UConn, solo ball maybe can get hot. I don't think for a full game that's going to happen from them. If you look at Michigan State, Jeremy Fears can play a great game. I don't think they can consistently put up the points to keep up with UConn. Same thing with St. John's. Now, the only team we're going to talk about, we picked our Final Four team from this region in Duke, but the only team that I could see having the shot making to make this happen is the Kansas Jayhawks. I think they might be the only team in this region that can beat Duke, and it's because of Darren Peterson. The American hero. The American hero. There's just something you can't teach, and it's the ability to do what Darren Peterson can do. He just has the elite shot making that you can't coach, and it doesn't matter. There's a reason that he is being the guy I talked about as the 1 or 2 draft pick in this league. It's because it doesn't matter who you put on him, he can get a bucket. And so if there's anyone that can take out Duke in this region, I think it's Kansas. Doesn't mean that I'm picking it. No, I'm just trying to provide you guys a little bit of extra information about this region. Rob, if you're going to pick one team, as we both picked Duke, to take out Duke in this region, obviously you don't think it'll be Michigan State. Do you think any team could do it, and why do you think they could do it?
I'm going to go on a different path here. First of all, I just want to say how crazy it is that I talked about how Duke got absolutely screwed and they got all the hard teams in their region and it's terrible. They should be mad. And then I just waltzed them to the Final Four. Like, I think that's hilarious.
I think it shows the brilliance and just how good this team is that you didn't even think about it. Yes, you can still complain about it and you can have them waltzing to the Final Four. They're not mutually exclusive and it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the team that has the best chance of beating Duke in this tournament is TCU.
Wow.
I do. Not in the tournament. I said the tournament. In the region.
Why?
They are so hot and cold. Like it's crazy. They could play Duke and lose by 80, and they could play Duke and win. Like they don't rely on one or two guys to score. They have a really shifty, really fun white point guard who I really enjoy. And I say white point guard not because that matters, but it matters between like how you envision him playing, because it kind of does. I'm not gonna talk about it too much. They've got him. They've got this dude David Punch, which is just an awesome name. He's at power forward. I love that guy. And they shoot really well. They can get out in transition. I think that if TCU is playing at their peak, like there are a very few amount of teams in college basketball that when they're playing at their peak can beat anybody. TCU is one of those teams. So
Yeah, they can lose to everybody,
But they
We're
could
not saying
lose-
they're going to win a national title.
but they could lose by 40 to Ohio State. Like they are completely random. Anything can happen with TCU, and I would not be surprised. So realistically, I don't think TCU has a chance of beating Duke, but I do think they have the highest chance of anyone in the bracket beating Duke in the East region, in my opinion.
Fair enough. So with that, folks, we have completed our East region in our hurry bracket. We're going to go through it real quick. We got Duke over Siena, Ohio State over TCU, Duke beating Ohio State. This is my bracket. And we have I have St. John's over Northern Iowa, Kansas over Cal Baptist, St. John's over Kansas, which will give us a Duke St. John's Sweet 16 matchup, which I would have Duke going to the Elite Eight. On the bottom half, got Louisville over South Florida, Michigan State over North Dakota State. Louisville knocking off Michigan State. That's the biggest upset I have in this region. UCLA over UCF, UConn over Furman, UConn beating UCLA, UConn beating Louisville, and then Duke beating UConn in the Elite Eight. Send them to their second straight Final Four. That's my East region. Rob, your East region of the bracket.
Yes, sir. My East region is a lot more fun than Nazari's East region because I do have Duke winning in Siena and Ohio State getting the Sweet 16, but I haven't facing off against Northern Iowa in that round. I've got Northern Iowa, the Panthers. I still don't know if they're the Panthers or not. I got them beat St. John's. I got them beat Kansas. I got them getting there against Duke in the Sweet 16. I do have Duke winning, but on the other side of the bracket, I have a lot more chalk than I do at the other, the top side. I got Louisville beating South Florida in a game that I think is going to be spectacular, and then I got them losing to Michigan State. Michigan State is one of the most consistent teams in all of college basketball. They're one of the most reliable teams in all of college basketball because of Jeremy Frears and their front court. So I got the Spartans getting past North Dakota State, getting past the Cardinals, and getting to the Sweet 16, where they would play UCLA, one of the hottest teams in the sport, after they take down UCF and UConn to get to that point. I love the Bruins. I love the Spartans. I think they're both playing great basketball. I think they're both really fun. They got fantastic coaches, but I do think the Spartans would win that game before they get trounced by Duke. Not trounced, but beat by Duke in the Elite Eight on the Blue Devils' path to their second straight to Final Four.
Yeah. So looking at your region, specifically the matchups you picked, Rob, what's your favorite matchup and your favorite game to watch if your region were to play out here in the East region?
I have two for you. The first one, Louisville, South Florida, is because I think no matter what, that game is going to be exciting. It's going to be awesome. There's going to be a lot of great shot making, a lot of great offense. And I love defensive basketball. I do. We just talked about Duke's defense for a while. But, I mean, high-scoring offensive basketball is amazing. So I think that game's going to be great. And then if Northern Iowa were to beat Kansas, that would be fantastic. So those two, I would say those two. What about you?
My top game for this region, if it were to happen, and the way I see it, would be St. John's versus Kansas. I think that would be absolutely phenomenal. Rick Pitino versus Bill Self in the tournament with a chance to go to the Sweet 16. And honestly, I don't know if I see a ton of games being super close in this region. I look at it and I'm just like, Duke, UConn, it will be fun, but I just don't see UConn being able to keep that close or St. John's keeping it close with Duke. I think Ohio State in my region would be the team that gives Duke the most interesting matchup. But, man, UConn and UCLA will be very, very fun. But I think my top game would be St. John's, Kansas.
And that would be a great game. Bill Self versus
Absolutely.
Pitino. We almost got it last year. I don't know if you remember.
We did.
When Calipari, Bill Self, and Pitino were in the same region.
Yep.
But now this year we get Dan Hurley and Mick Cronin and Tom Izzo and Pat Kelsey and Bill Self and Rick Pitino and John Shire in the same region. So I think that's a pretty good consolation prize.
Yeah. And I was going to ask this to Rob, who's his biggest dark horse from the East region? But we know who that is, folks. It's Northern Iowa.
Northern Iowa, but also Cal Baptist. I love Cal Baptist.
Fair enough. My dark horse for the East region would be, it's not a very high seed, not a very high seed, but I'll take UCLA as my biggest dark horse because of Donovan Dent. I think he can make it very interesting. I think he will make it very interesting with UConn. And then in the Sweet 16, whether he plays Michigan State, whether he plays Louisville or South Florida, Not counting out North Dakota State, but I'm not saying they're going to make it to the Sweet 16. But I think Donovan Dent and UCLA would be my biggest dark horse from that region. Rob, are you good on the East region? Are you ready to move on?
I just want to say one last thing. If South Florida finds a way to beat Louisville, they could beat Michigan State. That's my last thing.
That's Rob's last thing. That is the East region, folks. We hope your guys' brackets are in the East region filled out somewhere close to ours. You know, it doesn't matter. You're probably more correct than we are. Who's to say? But you guys can send in your East region. Let us know which you picked. Moving on